They called him the Diesel.
Crank up that diesel. Let's go.
He leaned across the table and he goes, "You need to get me back there. I'll make you famous."
And to Riggins, good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone.
It's Riggo the Diesel.
All right. Welcome to this segment of Riggo the Diesel. I am Riggo the Diesel. Episode, what's it say here? Episode 22. Wait a second. Season 2. Show 61 overall.
Okay, show 61.
61. I got to read the fine print. I did not do that. How you doing, Larry?
I'm doing
Larry
good.
Michael?
I'm doing good. Rainy day here at Redskins Park.
It is. I got something that I want to defer to you, though, because there's still, and naturally should be, things going on here at the park.
Yeah.
So there's been some announcements, and I kind of think I'll just throw it to you and let you take it away with
yeah, I mean, Kyle Smith
happened so far.
Kyle Smith was announced as the new vice president of personnel by the Redskins, and Kyle had been with the team for many, many years. Kyle started as an intern back in 2010, moved up to the position of scout in 2011, and then he was moved to the director of college scouting in 2017, and now he's going to be in charge of college and pro scouting, which I don't know if this was kind of an anticipated move. People didn't really know what was going to happen with the Redskins front office, and over the last week and a half, we're getting some names out there that we're hearing about. Kyle Smith, of course, a very familiar name to us. His dad, A.J. Smith, in the business a long time. Kyle, former football player himself, and a guy that really has done a great job with the draft the last couple of years. So I'll lob it back to you. Last couple of years, I mean, you got some good young talent on this team, and
yeah.
I would think that's an indication that Ron Rivera and as well as the owner, Dan Snyder, felt, and there was quotes. You can see the quotes on Redskins.com. Dan talking about the experience that Kyle has had and how he's shown to be a pretty good talent evaluator, a real good talent evaluator, and Ron Rivera saying he liked Kyle's vision. So what do you think?
Well, you know, he's kind of an unknown quantity, but for me, I'm thinking to myself that as he comes out of this, and it would appear that, you know, because I think there's been some talk about maybe perhaps after they get through the draft and naming a general manager. But I'm starting to wonder, you know, with all the power that's being bestowed on Ron Rivera, and now you have a guy, a talent guy in place, it makes me, and plus there's been a new, and I can't think of his name, and I apologize, but somebody's been basically given the job that Eric Schaefer once had, which was basically negotiating contracts. And I'm going, so when you look at it, I mean, what would a general manager do at this point? Because you've got your talent sewed up, right? You've got your contracts negotiation sewed up. I'm wondering if do you think there is a potential that they would name somebody general manager? And if they did, what would his role be?
Well, I think, you know, Kyle is known as a real good young talent evaluator.
Right.
And I think you might be in the right direction, though I really don't know. You have Ron Rivera is speaking with the one voice. I think what you're seeing here is what we heard at the press conference and what was presented by Ron Rivera has really come to pass. And I think, you know, to hear him talk about Kyle Smith, obviously he didn't do that in a vacuum. He talked to Kyle Smith. I'm sure they had several meetings to make sure that they are on the same page. I think that's the most important thing. You're going to see there's going to be some coaching moves announced here pretty soon. I think, I think ultimately you're going to see a lot of new faces here at Redskins Park, and those people have to be comfortable. Ron Rivera has to have a comfort level with the people that he hires. I can remember when Joe Gibbs came back for the second time here. Who did he bring back?
The old crew.
He brought back the old guys. You know, he brought back Don Bro and Rennie Simmons and Jack Burns and Joe Bugle. I mean, a lot of guys who...
The band got back together.
And that is a comfort factor, I think, for the head coach. And for Ron Rivera, who has a lot of responsibility on his shoulders as head coach of the Redskins, he's got to be comfortable with these guys. So, you know, April the 6th is when the players return. The off-season conditioning program begins. And then subsequent to that, you got the draft. So it's a lot of work to do, John. So I like the fact the Redskins kind of button up the front office. This hasn't lingered. I mean,
they're getting down to business.
I want to say 2 weeks ago today, wasn't Ron Rivera announced as the new coach with the press conference coming up on Thursday? I think that's true. 2 weeks ago today was when the press release went out.
That's hard to believe, isn't it? Seems like a month ago.
It does.
Based on what everything that's happened in that
Seems
2
like
week
a lot's
time.
happened. So, obviously this is the behind the scenes, the preseason. Players aren't even here, even though you noted the parking lot here at Redskins Park does have a lot of cars in it. And
That's what I noticed coming in.
Yeah, and I think guys the players who are returning to this team are hungry to improve on what happened last year. And I think the vision and the leadership Ron Rivera has everybody fired up. I mean, there's nothing official that can take place here. Players can come in and get treatment more than anything else. 2 weeks since the season ended, that some guys are still banged up trying to rehab injuries.
Right, because you've
got a new head athletic trainer in Ryan Vermillion in, very experienced guy. I mean, started way back with Don Shula as his athletic trainer. In fact, he was here under a guy named Bubba Tyre in 2002.
Is that right?
The new head athletic trainer for the Redskins, Ryan Vermillion,
worked for Bubba
in 2002.
Well, Bubba's legion around these parts.
Yeah. I mean, Bubba took care of you.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because when I came here in 1976, a fellow by the name of Joe Cuso was the head trainer.
That's
and Joe went all the way back. I want to say Joe went back with Nate Fine, who was a photographer, but they went all the way back to the days when the team would travel, I believe, to California for training camp by train, and then they would come back. And that's how long Cuso had been there. And Bubba was the assistant trainer. And then after about 2 or 3 years, I don't remember exactly what year it was, Bubba became the head trainer. And Joe, they reversed roles for a couple of years, and then Joe finally retired, and Bubba took over full-time. Oh, well, he was full-time from that time on and all the way up through 92, I'm thinking. But then I'm thinking, I think Bubba was still here with Norv Turner when he came.
He was. And he was here when Joe Gibbs came back the second time, too.
So he stayed here the whole time?
He left. He left but came back. He came back.
Right, exactly.
Now, let me ask you this. What makes or made Bubba such a legendary athletic trainer? And these guys are really the unsung heroes because they got to patch you up. They're here early in the morning because when a player gets here, you got to rehab them. And there's a lot. These guys got a lot to do on Mondays. I know that. So what made Bubba so special?
I think is the fact that he was always available. And, you got the feeling that he really cared, that he was concerned about each and every player individually. He didn't look at it like, a group job or like, I got a herd of cattle down here that I got to kind of look after. I think that, and he was, he was always upbeat. Some trainers, I think, are a little on the grouchy side, and you kind of go, well, you don't know exactly how much to tell them, or, because it's almost like they don't want to hear it because they don't want to deal with it, or they just got some other stuff on their mind. But Bubba was never like that. He was always wide open, open-minded, and, you could come in there, talk to him about anything. And for sure, when it came to getting you patched up and getting you back out on the play or making some little bit of pain go away, he was the guy to see.
Yeah, what a legendary guy.
Yeah, he certainly is.
I swear by him. The name you couldn't come up with, Rob Rogers, who is the new Redskins Senior Vice President of Football Administration. I want to talk about the front office here after we do some business.
Go ahead, take a
right.
shot.
Whether you're on the field or in the classroom, the Redskins believe learning should be fun. That's why we've partnered with youth entrepreneurs to bring their engaging, hands-on style of learning to classrooms in the D.C. metro area. Youth Entrepreneurs curriculum was created by educators for educators. That means it's flexible, fun, and absolutely free. To learn more about Youth Entrepreneurs and how to experience it for yourself, visit getye.org.
All right, I've been telling you on and on and on. You hear me do it every week. O'Connor Plumbing, O'Connor Plumbing, O'Connor Plumbing. I'm going to get it out right away because T-Cat's not here. 1-833-RIGGO 44. 1-833-RIGGO 44. It's getting to be cold weather. Be careful. If you would be so unfortunate to have a broken pipe, call them right away. They've got their emergency services. They'll come out and they'll fix you right up. O'Connor Plumbing, 1-833-RIGGO 44.
Call them.
Hey, I'm bored, I'm broke, and I'm back.
Who's bored? Who's broke? And who's back?
I wanted to always see the redwoods. I wanted to see the Rocky Mountains. I wanted to see the Painted Desert, the Petrified Forest, the Grand Canyon. That was like the land that I always wanted to go to.
John Riggins.
All right, Larry, we're looking at the front office. You said there's a few things you want to discuss, so what do you got?
Well, I mean, it's obvious that this is a whole new structure of how the Redskins are doing business with Ron Rivera. And I'm really impressed with the way this has unfolded. Just 2 weeks ago, Ron Rivera was announced, but you've got your defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator in, both from outside the organization. You've got your new Senior Vice President of Football Administration, Rob Rogers. He is in. You've moved Kyle Smith into a more senior position, a more responsible position. And soon, I don't know when, you're going to hear the list of coaches who have been hired. And all this has happened.
Have there been coaches hired already that have been announced?
I think they're going to.
Sure.
I think some of them. I mean, I see a lot of people walking around the building, but you know what? I think it's going to be an organized announcement. And right now, there's competition with other teams, such as the Cowboys and the Browns. First-year head coaches coming in who want to hire some coaches. So I can understand why these announcements haven't been made. But it's remarkable how much has happened in such a short period of time. And it's remarkable to look over here on the couch, and I see the all-time sack leader in Redskins history, and he's wearing a pair of cowboy boots. I don't see him wearing cowboy boots often, John.
You're right. I've just noticed that myself.
I mean,
I should have known, though, because it made him about 2 inches taller, which he's already tall enough.
It's Dexter Manley, and you're doing a series of interviews with Redskins greats for the podcast during the off-season. Looking forward to hearing that. Maybe Dexter will come on and say a couple words here in the final segment of the show. But, you know, I think one thing, I don't want to say it's been overlooked, but you got a very young team here. How does a young team respond to new leadership, strong leadership? You have a lot of rookies that played a lot of games last year on both sides of the football. They'll be second-year men. You got young guys like Deron Payne and John Allen who are used to Nick Saban, right? Stern leadership. And Ron Rivera brings that. How do you think these young players are going to make out here? Because it seems to me this is a good combination.
Kind of ironic you would say that, Larry, because I was thinking the very same thought, that you have some guys that are here that have come from some big-time college programs that have won national championships, the two fellas you mentioned, plus there's about, another half a dozen guys from Alabama who know about Nick Saban and how he coaches at the college level anyway. And I would think that for them, and it's an interesting, what do you want to call it, dichotomy, if you will, where they're coming from these big schools that they've won national championships. They've come to Washington and haven't had that level of success. So, you know, they were used to that once upon a time, and now they got led down a trail where that isn't where it led to, any kind of championship, playoffs, any of that stuff. I would think they would be very eager to get back with a guy, you know, and say this is the new holy grail, and this guy's going to show you, you know, take you to the promised land or the championship land. And so I would think, and based on, like I said, this is, as you said, it's been about 3 weeks since the regular season ended. The parking lot, I'm not going to say it's packed or full, but there are an awful lot of cars out there. That tells you that there's a lot of guys still in the area, a lot of guys still coming out here for whatever reason, whether it's, like you said, to get treatment or to work out. My guess is some of them are coming out here and working out. They're going to probably continue to lift weights. Maybe they've taken the amount of time off that they want to. But I would say everything is on the up and up, if you look at the global picture here, because of the young talent, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, and you've got a couple, 3 good pieces on the offensive side of the ball, plus you got some holdovers there on the offensive line. There's a few spots that need attention, obviously, but that you got a draft coming up. You got free agency coming up. So I would think, this could be one of those situations where, and you see it happen every so often. It doesn't happen. Well, it does happen every year, and it happens in different places where you get some team with a really quick turnaround. And this could be something that bodes very well for that possibility happening here for the Washington Redskins.
We've got kind of a weird format on this edition of the podcast because, again, I'm looking at my man over there. I know he wants to talk. It's hard to keep Dexter from talking. But before I step aside here and Dexter steps in, Derrick Henry, who's on our rundown, the running back for the Tennessee Titans, and T-Cat here says comparisons with Riggo. I kind of see that a little bit, John. I kind of see people bounce off of him. And people, it wasn't like you would be giving violent stiff arms. It was just the way you ran the football. You were tough to bring down because you were a big, strong man who had speed, and speed and size brings power. So, exactly. And for him, he's got a pretty good stiff arm, but people seem to bounce off of him. He's about 235, 40 pounds. I think maybe he's a couple inches taller than you.
Yeah.
But do you see any of yourself in him?
Well, in some ways, yes, but it's kind of hard to compare, in all honesty, Larry, because, when this was going on for me, I was at least 10 years older than he is.
Right.
And that's kind of like that's what do you call it, in like cat years? That would make him like a kitten, and I was like near death.
Cat years. Dog years.
But and the flip side of this, and we're going to talk to Dexter, but I swear, Larry, they've forgotten how to tackle. I don't think that fundamentals is very important. They just run up. Nobody wraps anybody up anymore. They just run at you. They throw a shoulder at you. If they get you, they get you. If they don't, they don't. It's kind of the way it is. And you get one guy that'll kind of get the guy slowed down. Next thing you know, you got a guy coming in punching at the football. I don't ever remember guys standing around, while one guy's holding on to the other guy.
Trying to strip it, just going like this, just wildly ripping at the ball.
As the ball keeps slowly moving down the field, because by the time, if you notice this more often than not, then you'll have a pile of players standing up. Then all of a sudden, the offensive linemen, they get up off the ground, they run over there, and then they push, and you get another 3 or 4 yards.
I know.
It's pretty interesting. You watch that. When they play Kansas City this weekend, you'll see those Tennessee linemen. They jump up, because they stand him up. They're not going to put him on the ground, and nobody's going to go near his legs. They're all going to try and tackle him high, which is, you got to pick your poison. I'll tell you, the best guy the open field tackler, I was always Pat Fisher. I only had to play against Pat once, and let me tell you, as a running back, that was enough. He wasn't like you didn't worry about that he was going to clean your clock. All you knew was, though, once Pat showed up, you weren't going to make any more yards.
Scratch your eyeballs out, man. Grab your jugular. He would do anything to bring you down.
But he had this uncanny knack of he knew leverage. He knew how to get leverage on you. So
still does.
Yeah. So
does.
The numbers are similar, but after that, I don't know. Like I said, there are some dissimilarities as well. All right, you got to run.
I'm going to do a little business,
you'll be back.
and Dexter is going to stop in.
Okay, very good, Larry. Thank you.
Looking for another chance to win? How about $100,000 in the Scratcher replay from the Virginia Lottery? That is what you can do now through March 31st. Any non-winning Virginia Lottery Scratcher offers a shot at $500 in the daily drawing or even $10,000 grand prize. On April 7th, one lucky player will win $10,000 grand prize. All entries must be entered either via virginialottery.com/replay or the Virginia Lottery app. The fun doesn't stop if you don't win with your Scratcher. Just replay it with a $100,000 Scratcher replay from the Virginia Lottery. Did you know the Redskins are sponsored by Koch Industries? That's K-O-C-H. That's K-O-C-H. There's 67,000 U.S. employees make a lot of things that make game day better. Greener turf, they make that. Stronger paper products for tailgating, they make that too. And, electrical components in TVs and smart devices. So you can watch the Redskins win anywhere. Yeah, Koch makes that too. See all they make on and off the field at kochmakesthat.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, stand back and watch the Phoenix rise from the ashes.
Stand back. It's Riggo the Diesel.
All right. Well, Larry has had to step out. He had a meeting to go to, and I'm very fortunate to be joined by one of my all-time favorite Redskins, Dexter Manley. Dexter, good to have you on the show today.
Thanks for having me, John.
Yeah. Listen, we're doing some stuff for the series of the players that have played in the past here. So I don't want to give any of that stuff away. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the scene right now here at Redskins Park, and get your opinion of what's going on and how things have transpired in the past and what you would see for the future. Let's start with the coach, Ron Rivera. What do you know about Ron, and what do you think of the hire?
Well, I think that what I think of the hire, I think Joe Gibbs stamped it all over this here. I think that was a good selection. I think he's going to change the culture here. At least that's what there's been printed, that he's going to change the culture. And just coming up here to the park this morning, I can tell it's a lot of energy here in the off season. I see some coaches running around here, drinking
Not too many of those, though.
Yeah, drinking coffee with clipboards. So I don't know. But I know that.
You're going to wait and see.
Yeah, I don't think I know that I'm retired, you retired, they can put some contracts out here. Maybe we'll give it another shot.
You perhaps could do it, Dex. Me, you'd break me in half on the very first play. You mentioned a key word here, which is culture. And I don't know that you and I can really speak to that word as to how it has been, i.e. under Jay Gruden, and anticipate maybe how, the perception of how it's going to be under Ron Rivera, because I really don't know I know Ron. We used to play against Ron when he was with the Chicago Bears, but I guess we're all basing it on maybe his reputation. But if you look back, was there anything that you saw necessarily that, under Jay Gruden where you thought that the culture was I don't know if the word out of control is not the right word, but where it's not the kind of, place where people come to work and their work is all dedicated to winning football games. The people come to work and they kind of like, hey, this is kind of a fun place to be. We come down to the locker room, have a few laughs, go out, practice a little bit, and, then we get out of here. I mean, I'm wondering, did you feel that in the past with Jay Gruden?
Well, I tell you, I didn't feel that, but I just go by with this new collective bargaining agreement. When you and I was here with Joe area, I mean, hey, we was grinding it out.
True.
Practice was totally different. It was like a fourth quarter game. Now here, I understand these guys shorts, T-shirts, and they can hardly have very limited contact. And so I think that sort of change the dynamics of a player's how he prepares for a game during the week. You were just talking about these guys may not be wrapping up, tackling, they punching balls. I think a lot of that has to do with practice, the way you practice, the way you're going to play. And so I do see that there's a big culture, a big change in the National Football League through the Players Union, and they come to an agreement because mostly they're concerned about concussions and more contact you have, more opportunities that a concussion can occur.
Right.
But I think overall, Jay Gruden, he kind of lost his way with the collective bargaining agreement. Guys not practicing, can't practice, don't want to practice, you can't hit. So I think a lot of that was intertwined and just wasn't a lot of success here.
You brought up something as you were talking. It made me think because of just what you said with that collective bargaining agreement, and where I forget what it is, but I think you're allowed only X amount of practices once the regular season starts where you can have contact, like being pads and all this stuff. So I'm going to say it's less than 16. In other words, you can't have one a week. It averages out to less than one a week. And I'm thinking to myself, if you, back in the old days, what we're talking about, you went out to practice and you lined up and, you go down there and do one-on-one and then you do half line and all this stuff and you were hitting, you were actually live pass rushing against Joe Jacoby.
Yeah, it got 6'7", he's a condominium.
Exactly.
I can't keep going against the guy.
Didn't know which
like
way
that.
to go around.
Yeah, right.
It would take you too long to get there. Going over was tough.
I had to go around the beltway to get to Joe T sometimes.
Exactly. But what I was going to say was that there's a certain intensity that puts in your mind to begin with, because if you don't give it all you got,
right,
you're going to absorb the blow and it's going to be painful. And, basically most of us, there's a few masochists out there, but most of us prefer to deal the pain to the other guy, not us. So basically it kind of takes care of itself, doesn't it? You put on pads and you go out to practice, you're going to hit. Listen, if you're not out there to do, you're going to find another way to make a living because this isn't for you. Nowadays, you go out and there's no contact. You kind of, I think, if the whole idea is you can be a little more lax. Look, I'm not going to get hit. I'm wondering what a coach really needs to focus and hone in on, and this would be something I would expect out of Ron Rivera, is that it's your mental state of the intensity that you're practicing at, that even though you're not going to get hit and you don't have pads on, you have to be able to replicate a game situation in your mind when you're out at practice, which personally I would tell you for me that would be very difficult to do. But if I suppose over time, if you get that and drill it into these guys, that's what you would expect at practice. It's the intensity. And my guess is that with Jay Gruden, that intensity was lost, and that's exactly what you're going to find with Ron Rivera, and I think he probably senses it as well.
Yeah, well, I think he started out on the right page. He want to change the culture, and I think part of changing the culture, it's all about mind. If it's not can't be physical, it has to be mental. That means you have to do more study with your playbooks to form your component, and it's a different ball game today.
Well, I was thinking then, so Ron Rivera is going to come in here and the card tables and the kegs are going out the door. And
no more 5 o'clock club.
No. Say it ain't true, Dex. Anyway, we'll wrap this up. And, Dex, I appreciate your setting in for Larry in this last segment. Thank you.
Okay. Now, just send a check to my address and I'll be all good.
I'll just give you cash, Dex.
I take cash.
When you scratch and you don't win.
100K, scratch or replay.
Say what?
It's the Virginia Lottery 100K Scratcher Replay.
If I scratch and I don't win, I could still win?
That's right. Now through March 31st, enter any non-winning Virginia Lottery Scratcher for a chance to win one of 2 daily $500 prizes or the $10,000 grand prize. Visit VALottery.com/replay for details.
100K Scratcher Replay.
Odds of winning a prize depend on the number of entries received.
Winter is the season for adventure, and if you want a car as exciting as your lifestyle, then it has to be an all-wheel drive Honda SUV. With more features, the CR-V has standard Honda sensing, more room for friends, the Pilot has seating for 8, more comfort, the HR-V has available heated seats, and more rugged. The Passport is built for adventure with ample cargo space and hidden storage compartments. Winter adventure is calling, and Honda is ready to answer. See your local Honda dealer today.
Dear customer service, I can always count on Novak. My power is always on, my payments always go through, and Novak actually cares about the community they serve.
Dear Novak, your electric costs are reasonable. Some electricity is from alternative sources, and cost reductions are passed along during the year. Thanks.
Novak, power you can count on.
Hey Redskins Nation, this is the old pro Darryl Green. How many of you out there are tired of dealing with the big banks who answer your phones with that dreaded recording? Press 1, press 2, press 3. If you want personal customer service, I recommend giving Main Street Bank a call. I promise you, your call will be answered by a person and not a robot. And you'll be treated with the courtesy you deserve. I know, I'm a founding director of Main Street Bank. So try us out. Visit mstreetbank.com. We bank where you breathe. Member FDIC.